session. Thank you. So we are now going to move to item 12, creating a children, youth, and transition age youth behavioral health continuum framework for San Diego County. And first I'm going to turn to public comment.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 25 requests to speak on this item, 9 in person and 16 requesting to speak by phone. Also note for the record that we received 5 e-comments, all in favor of this item. For any individuals that requested to speak on item 12 by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers, starting with those in favor of this item. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. I'll be calling you in groups of 3, so I'll ask you to please listen for your name. Because we have 10 or more speakers on this item, we have 25, as I indicated. You'll have 1 minute to address the board. We'll ask you to please begin by stating your name for the audio record. I'd like to first invite forward Gilman Bishop, Stephanie Gioa Beckman, and Elizabeth Rains. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Good morning, good afternoon at this point, Board of Supervisors. My name is Gilman Bishop, and I am a father to an 11-year-old boy named Nolan, who is a sweet, naive boy who has severe autism and high behavioral needs. I am CEO of the nonprofit Kindred Living, whose mission is to build and operate compassionate, socially engaging communities for individuals like Nolan. How does Kindred's mission relate to the youth behavioral health continuum? There are very limited services and social opportunities for young adults with intellectual disabilities once they age out of the school system. And importantly, there is 0 housing for young adults like Nolan with high behavioral needs. For instance, at Noah Homes, there's a 5-year waiting list. At Villa de Vida, there's a 6,000 person waiting list. Where will people like Nolan go? Where will less fortunate go? Sadly, many of them end up in the ER or in jail, on the street, isolated at home. Kindred Living plans to build.
Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Stephanie Joya Beckman. I'm the Director of Community Impact and Advocacy at Rady Children's. I'm here today to read an abbreviated letter from Dr. Ben Maxwell, Rady Children's Chief of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, who couldn't be here today but wanted to express support for Supervisor Lawson-Remer proposal to create a comprehensive behavioral health framework for children and youth in San Diego County. Mental health challenges are now the leading cause of hospitalization for children in California, and tragically, suicide is the 2nd leading cause of death among adolescents. Community-based and school-based outpatient mental health services, like those that Rady Children's provides on behalf of the county, frequently have long wait lists. They range from 3 months to 12 months to get initial face-to-face services. We know that timely access can be life-changing. It's 1 minute. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite the additional speakers in favor: Robin Sales, Shariah Afshar. I've called your name. Please come forward.
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Rains, a manager of business planning at Rady Children's Hospital. I'm here today to read part of a letter on behalf of Dr. Hillary Bowers, the Director of Behavioral and Mental Health Services with Children's Primary Care Medical Group, or CPCMG, in support of board item number 12. Dear honorable members of the board, as a pediatrician committed to the well-being of children and their families, I see firsthand the immense challenges our youth face in accessing mental and behavioral health services. However, innovative models of care are making a difference. CPCMG, in collaboration with Rady Children's, through the pilot primary care mental health integration program, children identified in need can speak with a mental health professional in the same office, often on the same day. The preliminary results of this program are incredibly promising, underscoring how critical it is to integrate mental health care within pediatric primary care settings. Yet bringing it to scale remains a challenge. CPCMG strongly supports the Children, Youth, and Behavioral Health Continuum Framework proposed by Supervisor Lawson-Remer. We are hopeful that this framework will help address the barriers outlined. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Robin Sales. I am the current chair of the Behavioral Health Advisory Board, and I'm also a commissioner on the Encinitas Public Health and Public Safety Commission. I'm here speaking for myself today. I'm in support of Supervisor Lusser-Reamer's board letter concerning the continuum of care for this population. In this county, we have children who are in desperate need of help at all levels for counseling, family therapy, family support, and treatment facilities for all behavioral health conditions, so that families and children can get the help when they need it and immediately in many cases. I'm supportive of a laser focus of care for these children and families, and also would like to highlight that Behavioral Health Services has many programs throughout the county that are currently helping children and youth. I am hopeful that this effort will secure funding for the many services that are in need of bolstering. Thank you.
Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite the first three speakers in opposition, Mark, allegedly Audra, and Bryant Rumbaugh. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Good afternoon. My name is Shahryar Afshar. I'm the executive director of the Autism Society of San Diego. Also a proud dad of an autistic son, as Gil mentioned. Depending on who you ask, he's low functioning, high support needs, nonverbal, but we call him Daryan. In this role, we come across a lot of families struggling. We see a lot of dads, we see a lot of moms. I think what this proposal does is bring a lot of these families hope. And I think that's something we all want to do as community members. Whatever we can do to support this initiative, the data analysis, being a good community partner, along with other groups in town, we are at your service. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
All right, still Brian Rumbaugh. So, with regarding this, first off, I feel bad that the gentleman's son has autism. What we need to do is kind of recognize, the autism rates certainly have been increasing over the last 70 years. Let's look at the numbers according to the agenda item, where the kids that are needing these services post-2010 has increased substantially. What exactly happened in 2010? Let's just say maybe the baby boomer generation, the Generation Xers, we chose to kick the can down the road a little bit. We had what they refer to as the Great Recession, and it broke a lot of families. I know people that have had 7 cell phone numbers in the last 12, 13 years. Yeah, that's right, Jim, that's instability. And look at what we did with the COVID lockdowns for these kids. It's going to increase. We need to change our ways, guys.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mark, 10 to 14-year-old suicides are between less than 1%, 0.9, and 2.9, less than 3% per 100,000 people. While that's really bad and we should aim to stop that, I am not for telling every elementary school student all about suicide and mental illness, kids that have never considered this in their life. And also, just making it sound like it's okay. Oh, don't worry, you don't have to feel bad if you're mentally ill. So what? You're going to tell a kid that depression, he might be mentally depressed, and to consider that? For kids, most kids aren't popular, the biggest kid in school. Of course, at some point, they have a little anxiety or a little depression. That's part of growing up. They're going to medicate these kids, the pharmaceutical industry. They don't have a good record. People need to see this video, The Minds of Men. And here's some different times during the video to check out to see the abuse by the Psychiatric Association on children.
Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite the final speaker in opposition, Shirley Fett.
I'm not in opposition. Okay, thank you. Just to make it clear, hi, I'm Shirley Fett. I am here in favor of the proposal. I am a family nurse practitioner. I'm a pediatric mental health specialist, and I work for Vista Hill Foundation. So my primary job is to connect families with children having behavioral health needs to behavioral health services. I am here to tell you it is not happening, particularly for our Medi-Cal population. There is a 1-year wait list at Rady Children's Hospital to see psychiatry. You can imagine waiting a year if your child's in crisis. Guess what's going to happen? They end up in the emergency room, they end up not going to school, and really, really suffer significantly with these delays in service. I'm specifically here to talk to you about a niche population that needs a lot of behavioral health services. I am the mother of 2 profoundly autistic adult men. They are ages 31 and 33. All autistic kids and adults have behavioral and mental health challenges. I cannot make an appointment for my sons to go to see any typical psychiatrist because guess what happens? We don't know how to work with this population and we can't see them.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My person uses the name Audra. It's sad because these vaccines that we give children from the time that they are born and come out of the womb are actually causing autism. I don't think that there is any child that has autism that has not been vaccinated. So if we got down to the root of the problem, we wouldn't be having these issues and doing this to these children, and then needing these resources to help them, but also all of the things with this transgender agenda. You know, telling a child that they can be the opposite sex of what they are. They're never going to fulfill that desire of being an opposite sex when they are, everything in their DNA says that they are either male or female. There's only 2 genders. And as long as we perpetuate that issue and tell children they can be a unicorn if they want, then they're going to have mental health issues. But we have to start with getting to the root of the problem, and that starts with vaccinations with these children who have autism, and it's very sad.
Thank you. I'd like to call up some additional speakers that have been identified: Kristen Garrett Montgomery and Cheryl Rode.
Good afternoon. My name is Kristen Garrett Montgomery, and I'm with the local chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics and currently managing the Strategic Behavioral Health Initiative. The Strategic Behavioral Health Initiative is a new multi-sectoral countywide effort aiming to develop a comprehensive roadmap to an ideal continuum of care for our children and youth. Today's proposed county policy is foundational and will provide a much-needed assessment of need and capacity and create steps of how the system can be enhanced. We also hope this framework will include development of clear county benchmarks. This will include how we're able to track and monitor the ongoing need and spending within the youth behavioral health system, which will create more transparency for community partners and help inform future services and resource allocations. In addition to this county framework, we would also ask for the county's support in addressing the mild to moderate services covered by Medi-Cal managed care companies. Although the purview of the county's behavioral health department, especially mental health services, to truly improve our continuum of care, we'll need to address the very low rate of behavioral health utilization and Medi-Cal managed.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Cheryl Rohde. I'm the Vice President of Clinical Operations at San Diego Center for Children and the Vice President of the Mental Health Contractors Association of San Diego, representing community-based organizations providing the full array of behavioral health services across the lifespan. I support the request to create the Children's Behavioral Health Continuum Framework. Mental health issues are the #1 reason California children are hospitalized. 50% of mental health disorders begin by the age of 14. There is no investment more important than the health and well-being of our children. We in the provider community understand the adult system has required resources and attention, but now we need to focus on children and youth. A behavioral health strategy that will ensure that funds focus upstream to support children and families and strengthen our entire community. San Diego has an incredible partnership and collaboration across the child-serving sectors through the Child, Youth, and Family Council. With 25 seats, the council represents expertise and commitment to ensure the optimal care pathway results in improved care and...
Thank you. We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you will be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I'll remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. We will start with our first caller.
Good afternoon. My name is Robin Kulik-Lassie, and I am a parent of an autistic adult child. I am here today to voice my support for this proposal. My autistic son is a shining example of how providing intensive behavioral and mental health supports at a young age can benefit children as they transition into adulthood. I truly believe my son lived his best life because we provided him the behavioral support he needed throughout his development. I look at him now and I can see that all the hours of ABA, behavioral intervention, and monitoring his behavioral plan work. I want to clarify that a high percentage of our autistic population have mental health issues that can escalate behaviors. Assisting parents and children in assessing mental health and behavioral supports early on is key to stabilizing them at a young age. I want to stress that the number of autistic individuals with severe behavioral mental health issues is on the rise.
Thank you. We'll hear from the next caller.
Gonzalo, again, not getting to the root of the problem, another Band-Aid to what big government and big pharma causes. I wish for everyone here listening in on this item is also recognizing that this same government pushes policies to have these services for our purposely broken children to begin with. Their lives matter enough to get to the source and root of the issue. Big pharma is to blame, yet you come here to plead to the same corporation responsible for all of your problems to begin with. I beg you, for the love of your children and for the future generations, pay attention to the real studies. Pay attention to the real studies that are not paid for by Big Pharma. You will see who is the source of your problem.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller. Next caller is Paul DeBold. Your device might be muted. We'll come back to that caller.
Good morning. My name is David Vance, pronouns they, them, and I'm speaking on behalf of the San Diego LGBT Community Center in support of item 12. Our LGBTQ youth are disproportionately impacted by the youth mental health crisis, and many of them lack access to affirming behavioral health services. According to the Trevor Project, LGBTQ youth are over 4 times more likely than their peers to commit suicide due to the mistreatment and stigma that LGBTQ people face in society. The center's behavioral health services team sees firsthand the positive impact that affirming behavioral health services have on our youth's mental health and well-being. It is imperative that our LGBTQ youth not only have access to behavioral health services, but for those services to emphasize prevention and early intervention while also addressing the nuances of the LGBTQ experience. Maintaining and expanding access to behavioral health services that prioritize youth experiences and identities will help our San Diego County youth lead healthier lives. The San Diego LGBT Community Center is proud to support item 12. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Hey, how you guys doing? Gambler here, a.k.a. Justin Castro and Hermes. I have a comment regarding this particular issue. When I first started working at the Registrar of Voters, it was an amazing thing. We had our supply kits. We took them out to one of these adult, mentally challenged facilities. And one of the things that I found very interesting was their memory. These guys were amazing people. They gave us our supply kits with 0 problems, and we used to pay them to do that. It made them feel great. I couldn't believe after not seeing them, I dropped off their supplies a year later, they knew exactly who I was. They were excited that I was coming over there to help them, to provide some work for them to do and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden we cut that. We said, no, we don't want to go ahead and help out these organizations. We want to go ahead and pay extra money to go ahead and do it with temporary staff and have many, many...
Thank you. Hear from the next caller.
This is Peggy Walker. As a health educator, I fully support this item for those to age 25 that really focuses on today's youth behavioral health challenges and alarming rises in anxiety, depression, and substance use. As part of this continuous care roadmap, I urge proactive data analysis of youth substance use and laws related to intoxicating substances and their impact on youth as a component. It's no secret the indicators of mental well-being among young people have deteriorated, that drugs have played a role, and that we need to ensure access to prevention as well as intervention services to get to one root of the problem. Please ensure prevention and early intervention strategies are included. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. My name is Martin Luisi with SAY San Diego, and I'm a proud member of the Children's First Collective. I am calling in to express my strong support for the Behavioral Health Continuum Framework. The child and youth mental health crisis is now over a decade long, and too many kids have gone without the help they needed. Today, I commend the efforts of the board to improve the lot of the current generation of babies, toddlers, and young people. Let's move on from a system that responds to crisis to a system based on prevention. The Child and Youth Behavioral Health Continuum Framework is a simple, cost-effective first step towards San Diego that is meaningfully friendly to children and their families. Thank you for your work, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. We'll hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon. I'm Christina Hall-Gillen, a licensed marriage and family therapist and the Director of Service Innovation for the YMCA of San Diego. I'm also the parent of 2 teenagers. This morning, I was reflecting on 20 years of conversations I've had with families and parents. When asked what they want for their children, the answer is consistently that they want their kids to be happy. It sounds like it should be simple, but unfortunately, these days, it's not that easy. Children and teens are contending with many challenges, from social media algorithms and academic pressures to high behavioral expectations on toddlers, high parental stress, and many, many other things. As adults in this community, we need to get on the same page and prioritize the mental health and well-being of children and teens. We must partner around a pediatric continuum of care that's equally focused on prevention and cup-filling activities as it is on accessible, high-quality treatment for youth.
Thank you. Hear from the next caller.
Dear Vice Chair Lawson-Remer and distinguished supervisors, thank you for the opportunity to share today on this item. My name is Erin Hoagboom. I'm Director of San Diego for Every Child, and I co-lead Children First Collective San Diego. Within these roles, I engage a lot with community members, parents, early education teachers, healthcare professionals, and other nonprofit staff. And something that's surprised me, honestly, over the last few years is just how much the challenge of mental and behavioral health, particularly for young children, has come up. I've heard it time and time again, especially when speaking to early educators, when I've asked them about some of their biggest challenges. And you can imagine it. If you have a classroom of 2 teachers and 24 3-year-olds, if even just one of those 3-year-olds has serious or even moderate behavioral mental health struggles, that's going to be hard. Early childhood mental and behavioral health is real mental and behavioral health. This plan will treat it that way. Parents are stressed. The U.S. Surgeon General just released a press release on this. They need help. So we need a comprehensive behavioral health system that acknowledges and treats the very real mental and behavioral health issues that arise in their kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon, and thank you, honorable supervisors and county staff. My name is Courtney Baltuski, Vice President of the YMCA for Public Policy and Advocacy and co-facilitator of the Children First Collective, a group of committed organizations and community leaders working to address the child care crisis. In accordance with our San Diego County Child Care Blueprint, quality early care and education is within the third goal, and mental and behavioral health support is paramount in this. I am also a parent of two and a leader within our school community. Whether I'm visiting a family child care provider or hosting a family collaborative on campus, behavioral health services is always a topic of conversation. Our babies, children, teens, and TAY need an intentional plan to address the continuum of care. For our little 0 to 5, we often overlook the importance of behavioral health. We overlook the evidence we've known for years about brain development and the support that parents need. First 5 San Diego with partners have done an incredible job.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. My name is Becky Rapp. I'm a guardian and parent to a young boy who suffers from mental health disorders due to prenatal exposure to drug use. I support this item as the county desperately needs an increased availability to services. Hospitals and behavioral health specialists are grossly overloaded. Prevention education and early intervention is also key, as mothers who are pregnant need to know and understand the consequences of drug use. Many residents have misconceptions of drug use, specifically when it comes to marijuana while they're pregnant. My son was exposed to marijuana in utero. My family is living this reality. His social and behavioral issues have caused his educational progression to be stunted and required many professionals to intervene in his life. He has severe anxiety and it can be crippling at times, as well as behavioral issues that disrupt his ability to learn. His inability to...
Thank you. Hear from the next caller.
Ann Riddle, and good afternoon. I came to show my support for Agenda Item 12. I think that it is a bold action you plan to take today to move past a model of care that's mostly crisis to crisis into a new model, a continuum that's focused on care and prevention. It is the prevention aspect that is of first interest to me. I think the information that has come out from SAMHSA telling us about the connection between substance use disorder and mental illness in children is important, and that they tell us that of the young people of the people 12 years and older who began marijuana use in the past year, 55% began before the use of 21. That means that ages 12 to 17 are no surprise that that's where you're seeing major depressive episodes within the youth population. Our interest in drugs must be part of whatever prevention strategy we put in place as part of this continuum.
Thank you. Hear from the next caller.
Hey, it's Troop back from the 1-hour, 20-minute lunch so Tara could do her political campaign interview with CBS. The supervisor behavioral health crisis is well documented and evidenced through innumerable fraudulent health advisories, popular surveys from every city, and from thorough research from leading speakers who've exposed how it's these supervisors here who've made bad decisions since 2020 that have harmed children via evil, anti-science, anti-human policies. The President admits that after, quote, the first year of the COVID-19 lockdown, children struggling due to anxiety and depression rose nearly 26%, and 26% for American Indian or Alaska Native high schoolers, end quote. So the county decisions were not only totalitarian, but also racist. The worst part of this para item is when it refers to children as mere commodities. Quote, the long-lasting benefits extend far beyond the individual themselves, with returns $2 to $13 in long-term public savings, end quote. It's not a who's being saved, it's a what's being saved for the county corporation. Note another fascist public-private partnership with UCSD to make them and Rady's richer while harming children. And Tara wasn't eating lunch, she was on.
Thank you. Vice Chair Lessner, we have one more caller that has just dialed in.
Paula Bold. You want more mental health services for youth. It's a great idea on its face. The suicide rate is way up. Learning problems are way up. My conclusion, and I'm sure a lot of other people can see it too, is that you should have flagged this issue during COVID. Instead, we get a request from the CAO to come up with strategies in 6 months and a plan in 18 months. So how many more will commit suicide or go crazy while we kick the can down the road? The board letter itself says behavioral health already has plans to combine current efforts to the Community Experience Partnership. The CEP is a collaboration between BHS and UCSD to integrate data and community engagement to advance behavioral health equity. This program should be developed.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Thank you so much. I brought this item forward because delivering better mental health and addiction treatment services to San Diegans is a top priority of mine, and it's particularly important that we extend this focus to our young people. We know that over the last 15 years or so, we've seen really skyrocketing rates of mental health crises among young people. And there's various theories as to what's driving this. There's a lot of research out on the topic, but one thing is clear, is we need better treatment and better interventions to help kids before it's too late. We want to help kids before they're contemplating suicide, before they're in an emergency room, before they spiral into lifelong depression. I've been very excited about the great work that we've done at the county with better mapping gaps in services and really understanding how to meet the needs, the mental health and substance abuse needs of our adult community. I think our optimal care pathways model is really exciting because it helps us envision and better understand what some of those interventions can be and should be way on the front end before people are in crisis. And if you don't map that out, then we don't really know what we need to be doing until it's too late and people are already in crisis. And I think we've made a lot of strides. I think the optimal care pathways model has given us a roadmap by just really identifying in a clear way, like what are our gaps? What are our gaps in our services? But we now need to do the same thing for our young people, for our folks that are under 25, for our kids, for 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 14-year-olds who have completely different needs and are going to be helped in completely different ways than our adult population. I know as a mom of a 5-year-old girl, I think about mental health all the time. I think the biggest thing you hear about for young girls is what happens when they're 11, what happens when they're 12, what happens when they're 13, what happens when they're exposed to all the pressures of social media and social media bullying, really toxic behaviors on social media. She has a diagnosis on the autism spectrum, so you sort of think about what kind of added challenges does that bring in terms of building relationships and being in community. And we know that women on the autism spectrum have a 7 times higher rate of mental health trauma than women who are not, young teenagers who are not diagnosed on the autism spectrum. So that's something I think a lot about. So I wanted to bring this forward because I've been talking to a lot of really wonderful community partners at Rady's and elsewhere and at the YMCA about the gaps that they've seen and the work that they think we could do as a county to better map those gaps so that we could have a strategy to address them. We can't know what we need to do until we at least have a plan. So that's what this is all about, is just to quantify what we could do and what we should do better, and to create a long-term comprehensive plan to ensure the strategic investment of resources, and also to do this in dialogue with our community partners, not asking our county team, not asking our county staff to go hide under a rock and try to do this by themselves, but really take advantage of our great community partners who have deep expertise on working with our young adult and our children's population, like Rady's and others. And then finally, really trying to optimize payments. So we know that one of the biggest challenges on providing good behavioral health is lack of sufficient reimbursement from Medi-Cal. And so really looking at how we can optimize Medi-Cal reimbursement. And this builds on the other initiative I brought forward a number of months ago that's really looking to, across everything we do at the county, optimize our Medi-Cal reimbursement rates. So again, that would be the purpose and the hope, and it would be wonderful to have the support of my colleagues today on this item. And with that, I'd like to make a motion. And Montgomery Stepp.
Thank you, Vice Chair, for bringing this item forward, and to our community partners for continuing to meet with us and continue to raise our level of awareness around this issue. Of course, that it's very personal, but it does help to have you at the table. So thank you so much for that. For too long, rising rates of mental health, substance abuse, other diseases of despair affecting our children and youth have gone unaddressed. And so we have a model before us that we have already used, and we're going to build that optimal care pathways model for our kids. I'm looking forward to this work, and this item does provide the County of San Diego with a vision for positive change and to reverse the trends of rising rates that we see all across our region. And, you know, this is an issue throughout the nation. So proud to be a part of this, and looking forward to what it will bring. I'm happy to second the motion.
Thank you so much. Any of my other colleagues? Okay. With that, we have a motion by myself, a second by Supervisor Montgomery Stepp. Please call the vote.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors who are present voting aye.
Okay, thank you. So with that, we will move on to item 14, receive an update on the aging roadmap. And our team has a presentation, yes? Okay, fabulous. Thank you all.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer and members of the board. Under your leadership, the county remains committed to ensuring that older adults can age well in our region. Today, we are pleased to present you with our annual update of the Aging Roadmap. Launched in 2019, the Aging Roadmap is a comprehensive plan to ensure our communities are equipped with programs and resources to support the needs of the growing older adult population. Today, we will review accomplishments and highlights from a range of these programs. I will now turn it over to Jennifer Bransford-Coons, Director of Aging and Independent Services.
Thank you, Caroline. San Diego County is home to a growing population of diverse older adults. There are nearly 710,000 adults aged 60 and older in our county, and that number is expected to climb to more than 820,000 in the next 5 years. Principles of equity guide the county's ongoing community engagement efforts, and the Aging Roadmap was developed to regularly incorporate community input. We use an equity lens and focus on community engagement as we implement our programs so that all residents can age well and access needed services. One-Way Aging and Independent Services, or AIS, stays in touch with the community of older adults in our region is through our AIS Advisory Council. Our team also coordinates more than 10 community committees that help inform implementation of the Aging Roadmap on an ongoing basis. As noted previously, the Aging Roadmap is a broad framework that encompasses all county programs and initiatives for older adults and individuals with disabilities. The goal of the Aging Roadmap is to create supportive and inclusive communities where people of all ages and abilities have an equitable opportunity to thrive. In looking at the data from surveys, stakeholders, and community engagement, the needs and priorities were categorized into 10 major priority areas, as you can see on the screen. Our 2024 annual update details achievements in each of these 10 areas. I will now turn this presentation over to Bryn Long, Deputy Director of AIS, who is here today to present a few highlights.
Thank you, Jennifer, and good afternoon. I'm pleased to present a few highlights from this past fiscal year. Let's start with health and community support. One of the goals in this area is to increase awareness of existing programs. In-Home Supportive Services, or IHSS, is the largest program within AIS. It provides assistance and personal care and household chores for children, disabled adults, and older adults. Over fiscal year 23-24, due to growth in the older adult population and increased outreach and awareness, the program grew by almost 9%, ending the fiscal year with more than 42,000 recipients. A related effort is the Tech to Connect IHSS Technology for Social Inclusion and Wellbeing program. Tech to Connect aims to reduce social isolation and improve mental well-being among isolated IHSS recipients and their caregivers. The program provides eligible participants with a tablet and a data plan, technology, training, and support to connect with social engagement opportunities and mental health resources. In fiscal year 23-24, Tech to Connect served 601 participants, 504 of whom were IHSS recipients and 97 of whom were IHSS caregivers. And another notable accomplishment in this area was within the CalFresh Healthy Living program. AIS staff worked with a group of non-English speaking older adults at a low-income apartment complex. They shared that they didn't know where to find free or affordable food close by. So staff created a food resource guide that identified where food could be accessed and what types of food could be found there. The guide was then translated into the 8 different languages spoken by these residents. And while there are many opportunities for social inclusion or social participation in our region, not all older adults have equitable access to these opportunities due to transportation or other barriers. For instance, online social opportunities are increasingly common and could be used by older adults, but some don't have the knowledge or technology to participate. In addition to the IHSS Tech to Connect program I just mentioned, AIS offers the Digital Inclusion Program. In fiscal year 23-24, the Digital Inclusion Program provided more than 340 adults with a tablet device and training resources. Other efforts to promote social participation focus on intergenerational engagement by connecting older adults with youth. Over the past fiscal year, AIS worked with County Parks and Recreation to host intergenerational activities for over 1,350 people, including pickleball, cooking classes, and holiday celebrations. And 9 intergenerational gardens are currently in development throughout the county. And as we know, transportation is a crucial component of maintaining independence, accessing needed services, staying socially engaged, and sustaining connections to community life. Access to transportation options that are safe, affordable, accessible, and reliable is especially important for non-drivers. In October 2022, enrollment began for the San Diego County No-Cost Transportation for Older Adults program, which provides up to 100 miles of free transportation per month to eligible older adults. In fiscal year 23-24, the program enrolled 421 older adults and provided over 20,500 one-way trips, totaling over 91,700 miles of rides. The program was a recipient of a 2024 U.S. Aging Achievement Award for its innovation and success. And there are currently more than 98,600 residents in our region that are over the age of 55 living with Alzheimer's disease and dementia. In 2014, the board approved the implementation of the county's Alzheimer's project. The county and our partners have made significant strides over the last 10 years to address the impacts of these difficult diseases. Thousands of doctors have been trained on best practices, more patients are being screened for cognitive impairment than ever before, and more patients are getting connected to community resources that help them and their caregivers cope with living with dementia. And throughout the county, there are an estimated 490,000 caregivers who care for a family member or loved one. The caregiver role can be rewarding, but it also can be challenging and last for many years. There's a critical need for training, assistance, and relief. Through AIS, the Family Caregiver Support Program provides education, caregiver counseling, case management, support groups, legal aid, minor home modification, and respite care. Throughout fiscal year 23-24, family caregivers received over 11,500 hours of respite care through the program, and 466 training workshops were conducted to assist family caregivers in developing their caregiving skills and knowledge. Also, seen here, the Caregiver Handbook was translated into all threshold languages. And finally, safety. Older adults may face safety concerns, including an increased risk of abuse, scams, and injury. The county provides a variety of services that seek to improve the safety among older adults. Adult Protective Services, or APS, investigates reports of elder and dependent adult abuse. In fiscal year 23-24, APS received over 28,000 referrals and conducted over 20,000 investigations. AIS also continued a media campaign with print, social media, and digital billboard ads to increase public awareness regarding elder abuse prevention and reporting. Another important issue is preventing injuries from falls. It's estimated that over 100,000 older adults experience a fall that results in serious injury each year in the county. So through the Dignity at Home Fall Prevention Program, community members can receive no-cost fall prevention kits with a variety of home safety items. More than 320 community members received a fall prevention kit in the past fiscal year. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to provide these highlights, and I'll now turn it back over to Jennifer.
In the fall of 2023, AIS conducted 17 community feedback sessions with older adults, caregivers, persons with disabilities, and service providers. As we look forward to planning for the future, the goal was to better understand the needs and priorities of diverse older adults, communities on topics related to quality of life. Sessions included members of diverse populations and informed the development of the Aging Roadmap Plan for 2024 to 2028. The growth of the older adult population brings great opportunities as our community work together to ensure the health, safety, and quality of life for all older adult residents. More county departments have joined us to move the Aging Roadmap forward, from prevention to the intergenerational gardens at the county library, parents raising grandchildren. Aging belongs to everyone. Community partners will continue to advance Aging Roadmap goals. The board's ongoing interest and support of the county. Thank you for your time and interest. Today's Aging Roadmap. We appreciate the opportunity to present on this item. Staff is available for questions.
Colleagues. Okay. Clerk, do you have any requests to speak?
Item 3 in person and 5 did not receive any e-comments. To speak on item 14 by phone, provided to you. We'll begin as your name is called. And Brian Rumbaugh, you'll have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll ask you to please begin by stating your name for the audio record.
Mark, your negligence is criminal. First of all, you're not addressing the cause of this. Oh, you're smiling, Tara? You think that's funny? Because Tara, more than anyone, knows, as an expert on finance for the government, knows exactly all the things I'm about to tell you. And getting paid $200,000 a year, why isn't she telling you? Why am I telling you for free? So you need to see zeitgeist.com, or not .com, excuse me, this title on YouTube, Zeitgeist. See this from 6 minutes, 40 seconds to 25 minutes to understand
Andrew,
what is actually, yes, I'm on topic.
Yes. Pause this time.
Yes.
Please make sure that you're speaking on the specific item, which means that you need to relate your comments directly to the item. You can go ahead and start this time again. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is directly related because your omission, I have a right to critique your omissions, and you're omitting the actual cause of this. There are a lot of, you're right, we're getting more seniors in our society, and more of them are becoming homeless and needing more services because of inflation. And inflation is wiping these people out. I personally know lots of seniors who literally will never be able to retire. They're 75, 78 years old. They're still working just to try to not become homeless, and it will overtake them. They simply won't be able to keep up. And that is caused directly from inflation. There is House Resolution 8421 right now to abolish the Federal Reserve. However, it's got a flaw. It literally takes away, it releases the liability, the Federal Reserve bankers from the liability, and gives it over to the Treasury. That's not all right. But if that was redone, that could work, and it needs to happen. Wealth inequality, I have 18 seconds. People need to see this video. It's only 6 minutes long on YouTube. There's the actual wealth distribution. These 3 lines, the white one is where it should be. The gray area in between is where people think it is. And this is the horrible amount of wealth distribution causing our problem. People should be able to take care of themselves, and they can't, and it's a scam.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
All right, still Brian Rumbaugh. So, with regarding this, a couple things I did like about it was really the advent of, let's just say, implementing technology to maybe improve some of these experiences that these elderly people may have. Loneliness is definitely a silent killer. We were actually at lunch and we were talking to a gentleman who was in here, and he talked about how, in his experiences going up to just a homeless person. I understand we're not talking, we talk about homeless in this place all the time. Okay, so I'm going to tell you there's homeless people that are going to be falling under this program too. But just the opportunity to kind of say hello and acknowledge their existence is what he said was critically important. Okay, utilizing technology. Jim's already heard me talk about that. The intergenerational engagement, as I was listening, honest to God, what it almost sounded like was government was essentially making us have community. Where is this the purview of government to essentially have to remind us that we should give a crap about each other, that we should engage with one another? I don't understand it. I never will. I've witnessed some real bizarre things in this chamber. No cost transportation. I can tell you this right now, there's no such thing as that. Okay, there's costs everywhere. There's no such thing as a free lunch. That's a fundamental rule of economics. I'm sure you heard that when you were in university. I did. Your dementia. There was another thing. Oh yeah, fall prevention. I don't know what was included in the fall prevention kit. We need to look out for one another. That's why we can't kick these cans down the road and try to put a Band-Aid on some system that is obviously flailing. Everything is relative here.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My person uses the name Audra. It's all by design, right? As long as we have people needing help, then we have a business to run, right? We can't solve the problem, but I love the diversity in the pictures. Good job, you guys. You got a bunch of different ethnicities in there to cover all, races, whatever. But the plan is working really well because you got to have people for the business, right? And as long as we kind of shove these elders away into some kind of home where they do get abused and they do get things taken from them. But how great would it be if we actually help people? That would be cool. It'd be a cool world to live in, wouldn't it? I would want to be there. I don't necessarily want to be here, but I got a job to do, so that's what I'm doing. But I thought, let me give you some pointers. There's people that are trying to work on aging and get it to the point where we don't age anymore. And I'm pretty sure so there's young blood, so you can take the blood of young children and just inject it into yourself, do a transfusion, and it makes you look young. We can talk to Madonna about that. She's doing very well. And then we also have adrenochrome, which is nice, right? We can torture young children to get their adrenaline pumping and then take the blood from that, and it also keeps you young, but it makes you high too. Maybe that's the way we need to get through this world. I don't know. But that's what's happening to children these days, which is interesting. But it is at the cost of their lives sometimes. But at least people can stay young, right? Is that what we want? I think that would help, really fix this problem, right, of aging, because then we won't be aging. It'll be good, right? Yeah. And kids are dispensable. It's good. That's what's happening with the migrant children, but who cares about that, right? That doesn't happen to people. Everything I said was a lie, I'm sure, right? Look into it.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. We will start with our first caller. Next caller is Paul the Bold. Your device might be muted. We'll come back to that caller.
Consuelo. Yeah, it's just another waste of our money, another Band-Aid. And yeah, to piggyback off of what Mark Dorian was saying, anytime you see the word inflation in the news, replace it with record-breaking corporate profit. It's not inflation. And that's what's happening. It's all about money. It's all about control. And gosh, that's the thing. So it's just, yeah, the problem is not a lack of money. The problem is that, that we've given control of these things to greedy people, to the power hungry. And it's like, everybody's lost hope. And that's the thing. They have to keep you under in order to, under control, in order to fulfill it as they need to fulfill. And the sooner that people get wind of this and start waking up to what in fact is happening all around, the sooner we can have the system we deserve and all crave. And even you people sitting down and on the dais calling the shots, for right now you're being used. So like I've mentioned several times, it's just a matter of time where you're going to be the victim of your own policies that you push. And it's really sad that, a lot of people don't really realize their power. But we do have the power. And it's just a matter of time. And these meetings are important, contrary to what people think or say. These meetings are important. It's time for the masses to start paying attention. It's more important than the Super Bowl or the batting average or the Olympics. This is affecting all of us. And it's sad when people only get involved with certain things.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
It's truth. Relying on data-driven deception from Sandag is a definite way to build a roadmap that transports everybody off a psychosis cliff. Because they've been wrong before many times, and they'll be wrong again and again and again. This is not even a county plan, as admitted, quote, this item advances the state of California's master plan, end quote. So why are there even any supervisors at all if everything is but a state dictate? Why have we been reduced to a top-down dictatorship like we're in Cuba? I'm glad the county's community feedback sessions at least has translation services. But besides a welfare, HealthFresh, healthy living course, how about government programs not allowing unhealthy food purchases so people wouldn't even need a healthy living course? And how can the county put the phrases technology and well-being together with taxpayer-funded iPads when that technology creates an unhealthy lifestyle of radiation emissions, higher electric bills, and social isolation? And referring to people of a certain generation as a silver economy is more of that technocratic commoditization of humans. Instead of the county wasting about $10 million a year on taxpayer-funded so-called free transit for unaccompanied children, putting them at risk of child trafficking, we could have easily paid for our elders to have free transit passes instead. Children have parents who can pay for their rides, while many of our elders can't work and have no family. It was yet another selfish political decision by these supervisors, MTS, and Sandag to not help our most vulnerable community, our elders. And how does Section 8 or $500 in taxpayer-funded rent subsidies help anyone when the wait could take 8 or more years, while those who enter our country illegally have almost immediate access to housing with more than $500 just to buy groceries? Misplaced priorities. The only thing I like out of the plan was the ADU workshop where people got to make gingerbread houses, because ADUs are about as much of a real house solution as a temporary gingerbread house. Much like Tara's lies and campaign, you weren't smiling when called out about no-showing regional homeless task force meetings, were you? Nah, I didn't think so.
Thank you. Now come back to Paul the Bold.
Thank you. All about here. I am glad to say that the agenda actually includes an update document rather than simply referring to it in the letter like one of the previous items. The update looks great, but what concerns me, the pictures of the new housing are a bit concerning in that they seem not to have many facilities, like lawns, benches, and so on, to communicate with the community at large as the people walk past. I mean, this is a big issue if you're concerned about social isolation. And also, you can't just throw things at the older people like new technology. It's risky. Let me tell them, or maybe you can fill them in, a lot of it is junk. The first thing to do is learn if your new technology is just a gimmick or a piece of junk. Things like deepfakes or lies flashed all over the screen are not good. Now, emails which look like they're from the bank or government, but which aren't, and you look at the sender and email address. Our assistant was These versions of radically methods which one needs to adapt to. The short answer, or one that seems sassy, may not have been meant to be rude. The world is changing rapidly as fast as the latest technology scams. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Hey, how you guys doing? Unfortunately, I missed most of this because I was on the phone with SD Sarah, and then I asked them for the appeal form, at which point they hung up the phone with me and wouldn't answer any of my questions. So I'm really starting to think that there is something to this whole conspiracy with the whole election fraud issue where you guys are covering it up and doing everything in your power to make sure that you can pretend like you don't know what's happening if it gets discovered. I mean, like all your agendas and all that stuff isn't for the people, it's for your personal goals or the corporations or something like that, where they're going to harvest ballots, fraudulent ballots, in order to keep you guys and keep them funded. I don't think this is a good voting measure where we don't check ID, where we don't really care who votes the ballots. I think we should go back like Virginia is doing, which is ID required. In order to get a ballot, you must provide an ID in order to get a ballot. That, a lot less opportunity for fraud. It's going to be interesting if that state turns red this election because they eliminated most of the voter fraud through the vote-by-mail system. And then our state, of course, is going to probably go crazy for China. So whoever China wants, that's who we're going to get because, Nora and everyone rolls out the carpet for them. I just don't understand why you guys want to cover up voter fraud for the risk of getting thrown in jail for it. I just don't understand it at all, completely. So please look into my complaints before there's a possibility of you guys going to jail for, hiding it. Just a suggestion. Have a good one.
For the record, the speaker was Justin Castro, Vice Chair Lawson Reamer. That concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you so much. Do any of my colleagues have any items and any comments on item 14? Okay, is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Desmond and a second by Supervisor Montgomery Stepp. Can we please call the vote?
Vice Chair Lawson Reamer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors who are present voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We're moving to item number 15. And I'd like to hand it over to Alan Hunsberger, Assistant Director of Purchasing and Contracting, or are you doing it? Joan. Oh, Joan's doing it. Okay, sorry. Hi, Joan. Okay, Joan. I think we have a whole team. Okay, Thank you all. Take it away.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer and members of the board. Today, I'm joined by Alan Hunsberger, the Assistant Director of the county's Purchasing and Contracting Department, as well as Todd Olson, the Regional Contracts Manager from Cisco Foods. We are here today to provide an update on the countywide food contract, which serves the county's largest residential facilities, including detention centers and Edgemoor Skilled Nursing Facility. This critical contract provides a unique opportunity to shape how the county sources food and to elevate standards for its food service programs. The board recognized this opportunity in March and directed that the next procurement for the countywide food contract incorporate the values of the board's policy B75, which is the county's sustainable, equitable, and local food sourcing policy. This policy establishes 6 value categories and requires that each food service program in the county, including those programs purchasing food through this countywide agreement, to develop, maintain, and implement annual action plans based on these 6 value categories. Today, you will be provided with an update on the countywide food agreement and current policies and programs that Cisco Foods, our provider for the contract, has in place to support policy B75. And this will set the groundwork for each of the individual county programs that use the agreement as well. Today's update represents a key facet of the implementation of the policy, and staff in Cisco Foods will continue to work through the upcoming year to develop and implement processes that will increase local providers and establish baseline data and metrics to measure progress towards B75 goals. We look forward to meaningful progress both at an organizational level in partnership with Cisco Foods and at the program level with the county's food programs that use this contract. So with that, I'd like to turn things over to Alan for an update on the countywide food contract.
Thank you, Joan. And good afternoon, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer and members of the board. The county is committed to equity, sustainability, and providing essential services to the most vulnerable in our region. Supporting that commitment, today's board action is to receive an update on the countywide food procurement. On December 5th, 2023, the board took action to continue this commitment by adopting board policy B75, sustainable, equitable, and local food sourcing. This policy established 6 value categories of local sourcing, equity-informed sourcing, elevated labor standards, organic or regenerative certification, low carbon intensity, and nutritional co-benefit. It also establishes data reporting requirements for food contracts. On March 12, 2024, the board advanced the principles of board policy B75 by authorizing a competitive procurement for the countywide food contract that incorporates board policy B75, requiring that the contracted providers track data and present evidence of successful implementation of the 6 value categories of board policy B75, directing the Chief Administrative Officer to report back on the data resulting from any awarded contracts before renewal of the initial 1-year period of the contracts or any subsequent options, and directing the Chief Administrative Officer to develop an action plan to find, uplift, and cultivate local businesses to serve as providers under the contract in partnership with local stakeholders, and to return to the board in 180 days or before with an update on progress. To meet the needs of multiple departments that administer food service programs, the county maintains a countywide agreement for bulk purchase of food, food preparation supplies, and equipment on an as-needed basis. In alignment with the board's action from March, the county recompeted the countywide food contract this year and recently awarded this contract to Cisco Foods in August 2024. This contract incorporates the components of board policy B75, including the 6 value categories and reporting requirements. The primary customers of this countywide food contract are the Health and Human Services Agency and the Sheriff's Office that provide millions of meals annually to those under the county's care and or custody, with an annual spend of approximately $10 million. Our joint efforts to implement a more sustainable and equitable way to buy food, which Cisco will be sharing more detail on, include enabling the county to select food products and food sources aligned with the 6 value categories of Board Policy B75. Promoting the opportunity to become a provider for the contract, and cultivating small local businesses to enable them to become qualified providers. Developing and providing a comprehensive training program aimed at fostering local economic growth, enhancing community engagement, and expanding the pool of capable local vendors. Asking its larger suppliers to train local, small, and diverse businesses on how to become a supplier for their company. Collaborating with food system stakeholders, and developing reporting metrics for all 6 value categories in accordance with Policy B75. Todd will provide an overview of the approach Sysco Foods is taking to implement Board Policy B75 and their plan to find, uplift, and cultivate local businesses. Todd, I will now turn it over to you.
Thank you, Alan. Our first measurement from B75 is local source suppliers. As a level of measurement, these locally sourced products are referred to as products grown within 250 miles from the county facility. These products are sourced from locally owned farms, usually associated with small businesses, and participate as co-op suppliers. Sysco provides a search tool that allows all County of San Diego ordering facilities to browse the local area suppliers currently set up with Sysco. Our goal is to collaborate with the county to add more of these local suppliers. At Sysco, we prefer suppliers to be certified through a third-party certification agency and 51% owned or operated by a woman and other historically disadvantaged groups. Through our supplier diversity program management tool, we provide opportunity to suppliers that would like to do business with Sysco the chance to do so. Through the collaboration of the County of San Diego with Sysco, we can embrace these suppliers by purchasing products for all of the County of San Diego participating locations. As a world's global food service leader, Sysco lives at the heart of food and service. We understand our business is built upon quality relationships with our customers, our communities, and our suppliers. Sysco is committed to our values of integrity, inclusion, driving together, defining excellence, and growing responsibly. Sysco's Global Supplier Code of Conduct is designed to express our purpose, values, and association's expectations to our suppliers as we expect them to help us meet the highest ethical standards of business's conduct and fair dealing. We require that suppliers strive to achieve best practices, ensure compliance with both the intent and letter of this supplier code, and share Sysco's commitment to delivering exceptional service with the highest degree of integrity. As the County of San Diego embraces more locally sourced produce, you are provided a wide assortment of products for the County of San Diego and locations to choose from. Sysco is committed to making this a difference. For example, our Sysco branded paper towels and bath tissues are from a certified Forest Steward Council known as FSC and a Sustainable Forestry Initiative known as SFI. In alignment with the greenhouse gas reduction goals outlined in the county's recently adopted Climate Action Plan, Sysco is committed to reducing its carbon footprint and has established a science-based emission reduction goals in alignment with the Paris Agreement. Sysco has established a goal to reduce emissions of 27.5% from the transportation and distribution of products and energy use, or Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions, respectively, by 2030. Sysco will also work with suppliers to set emission reduction goals by 2026 and address Scope 3 emissions. Reducing emissions from food procurement, including sourcing from local suppliers, helps to put the county on the path to reach its net zero emission goal by 2045, increase the demand of locally sourced products, and improves our overall air quality. We have developed nutritional programs for all customers, giving them the ability and access to stay ahead when menu planning. These tools allow collaboration with industry-leading specialists, webinars based on seasonal menus, and web-based applications to showcase all the nutritional products Sysco has to offer. I do want to take a moment and congratulate the county's efforts in their doing so to develop these 6 pillars of B75. It is a foundational tool. It's a critical step forward for the County of San Diego in embracing the opportunity for your local locations to have local products. Thank you, Alan, and I'll back up.
Thank you, Todd. It is our honor to provide this update on how we'll be moving forward with a more sustainable and equitable food procurement contract. Significant progress has been made, and the many county departments collaborating on this effort, including Health and Human Services Agency, Public Health Services, the Office of Sustainability and Environmental Justice, the Office of Labor Standards Enforcement, and the Department of Purchasing Contracts, along with the Food Service Leadership Committee, and partnering with Cisco to continue to make progress in value calculation throughout the term of the contract, which is a one-year contract with our county. With 4 county renewal option years. We are returning to the board in the spring or summer of 2025 with an update on our progress and the data resulting from this contract before the expiration of the initial term of this contract in August 2025. Subject to your questions, this concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And as to set in motion our I'm just so excited. I had just a couple comments and questions for the team. First of all, I think great work. I'm very excited, and I know how hard it has been to are going to really think about all these different issues as we look towards, our food procurement contract. I also just want to acknowledge how important it is to our local economy. When we're looking at local food sourcing, locally grown agricultural products, I think that's very transformative. We have a set of stakeholders, a lot of jobs, a lot of our economy, and continue to do better. So I think that's really a wonderful focus, as well as if you're not driving food from Florida, but you're instead growing it better. So all that being said, I wanted to better understand, obviously, Cisco, you're a giant contract and are going to have to contract out to lots of make this happen. So I wanted to better understand how we'll say we'll be able to work with you all. Labor standards that I know you mentioned in your presentation.
So thank you for that question, Vice Chair. And Todd, if you don't.
Yes, Brandon, come. Okay. Brandon can come as well and give you a hand, so go ahead.
We'll go ahead and defer it to Brandon, and then if you have something that you want to add, we'll do that. Yeah.
So maybe, Brandon, the better question for you is what is your strategy here to work with Cisco to ensure that we really have a quality and enforceable labor standards? And the second piece of that is kind of what's the plan to consult with all the stakeholders?
Yes, good afternoon, Vice Chair Losrimer. Thank you for the question. First, OLSE will be involved with the onboarding of local suppliers to ensure labor standards compliance. Secondly, the Department of Purchasing and Contracting will provide quarterly reports to OLSE of all the food suppliers used in the contract. And then OLSE will then conduct a preliminary labor standards review using our wage theft procurement dashboard developed by the Office of Evaluation and Performance Analytics and updated by staff monthly with data provided by the state. This dashboard uses multiple data sets to cross-reference labor standards violations in compliance with local and state laws. Any food suppliers with current open or unresolved labor standards violations or past egregious labor standards violations will be evaluated and elevated to the Department of Purchasing and Contracting Director to review for contractual noncompliance. And then lastly, as part of OLSE's wage theft enforcement grant program through the California State Labor Commissioner's Office, OLSE will enforce wage theft violations throughout San Diego County for workers who file claims.
But, okay, that's great. But more specifically, let's just say one of the subcontractors has some kind of labor contract problems. I don't know what that might be, but maybe it's wages, but maybe it's also not providing sick leave or days that are too long. I mean, I think there's a lot of labor practices that you could violate. What would be the process for reporting those when it's not a wage theft violation that's already been adjudicated by the state in order for us to investigate whether there's some kind of labor standard violation?
Well, thank you for the question. I mean, I think the process is that, OLSE can receive complaints from, any worker in the county of San Diego alleging, and remember, wage theft is broad, so when we talk about unpaid, not allowing sick leave, that's wage theft. Those other forms are all, wage theft issues that would be within our scope of our jurisdiction to investigate and ultimately not only, bring forth a claim to get the worker made whole, but also we can elevate these to the Department of Purchasing and Contracting, because that would be non-compliance with the board policy, and they could take contractual action as well if there's a violation occurring. So the process would be, we're, educating folks on how to bring complaints to our office, but ultimately we would have to be aware of a complaint that's happening at that time. That's how we would at least know of active complaints, but then the review process is how we would look at, past unresolved, problems with food supply.
That's helpful. And I think that you mentioned you're developing like a supply chain code of conduct. Is that, I saw that in the presentation.
So we'll go ahead and defer to Cisco for that. And then if you want to provide any commentary on your visibility into the subcontractor and your usual processes.
Yeah, so we do have a process that we vet all of our suppliers that are set up within our company. We have a packet and guidelines that they do have to follow. So as long as they meet those criteria and follow the same ethical standards as a proper business practices, then we're going to continue to do business with them. If they show that there is access or some disruption in their business practices, then we will cease to do business with them and try to find a different solution.
But I'm just wondering, have those standards, those labor standards already been developed that you're holding them accountable to, or is that something you're in the process of developing? Because I saw a mention of ILO, but I know we're not going to apply the ILO standards directly, right? You're going to adapt them to local context.
We would have to defer to my corporate and corporation to see how it's actually if something does come up, how it's being brought through certain channels to identify certain areas. So I can get back to you with more information about it.
Yeah, I think I just want to make sure that, I think this is you guys have done great work. But I also know that sometimes something can sound great on paper, but then if you don't really have a good systems in place to monitor, then, who knows whether it's actually being enforced in practice. Yes.
I'm sorry, yes, the supplier code of conduct is in place within all of our suppliers. So if that's what the question is, then yes,
okay.
All of it. Okay, sorry.
Okay, thank you so much. I think I'm just very excited for the data component as well. And hopefully when we come back in, I think you said 2025, we will be able to assess, is this working? Because we're going to be able to see the data, and if it's not, having the impact we would hope in terms of expanding, local businesses and expanding access to more sustainable products, then we'll be able to assess and maybe reevaluate. So I think the data component's really great. Thank you all. I see my colleague Supervisor Desmond has some comments.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Appreciate it. And thanks for all your work on this. This is the first year for the contract for our new board with the new board policy. And unfortunately, we only had one bidder on this contract. Is that right? There was only one bidder on this?
That's correct.
Okay, and there had been some hesitations about being able to fulfill all of the mandates. So, and I understand, Ms. Cisco, you're already doing most of what we've asked for, just not to the complete level, I guess, to the fulfillment of the requests because of certain restrictions, or you just can't, source some of the food locally that we'd like you to, but you're going out elsewhere for that. Is that correct? You're not able to source all of it locally or as much as we asked for?
weigh in if I'm answering correctly, but my understanding is that at this point, it's not obvious to us that working with Cisco would not be able to meet the B75 goals. It is absolutely something that we are going to have to continue to look at and explore and work towards.
But they haven't been able to meet them all at this point. Is that true?
I think there's hesitation because we haven't done a specific look at all of the things that Cisco has done and done a comparison to B75.
Okay.
It's something that we've started the process of doing.
All right, so we haven't really looked at all the aspects here, because it just, the one thing I want to point out, and I think it's great if we, sourcing local food and everything else, is particularly if it comes from North County, but we've got to, but we also have a fiscal responsibility and aspects of the policy. We don't want to be overburdensome and take on too much more in costs. And it seems like, even though we want to achieve all of these things, we also have to come to the point, well, maybe nobody's going to bid on it if we've only had one bidder in the last year's contract. So I just want to make sure we're kind of, as we go forward with this policy, we've got a reality that we've got, money and constraints to stay within, and we've got to be able to get as much as we can, I guess, locally, but also understand that some of that, it may not be feasible. So it's more of a statement than a question, I guess,
And then,
on my part.
If I may make a statement, I think in terms of fiscal impact, so we have just started the contract and we are not sure what the ultimate cost will be. But at this point, the anticipation is that for the amount that we're planning, it's in line with what previous years have been, about a $10 million annual contract.
Oh, okay, so I guess I misunderstood. I thought this was like a recap of the first year.
The recap of the first year will come, so we're just entering into this contract now.
Oh, okay, I understand.
And
Okay.
we will absolutely come back before the first year is up.
Okay,
Yes.
I apologize, I'm ahead of it. Okay, all right, well, thank you very much.
Supervisor Desmond is excited for next year. Any other comments from my colleagues before we go to public comment? Okay, any public comment?
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 7 requests to speak on this item, 2 in person and 5 requesting to speak by phone. Also note that we received 1 neutral e-comment. Any individuals that requested to speak on item 15 by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. I'd like to invite forward the speakers in opposition, Mark and allegedly Audra.
It's in my pocket. She handed it back to me. Because I didn't check the individual. Right, yes?
Of course. My person uses the name Audra. I love when you guys pull your own pants down. It's good because you're like exposing what's happening. Do you look into any of these companies before you contract with them at all? No, you're just like, they're going to come and they're the only people that can provide this service. So we're going to go ahead and just say, yes, we'll give you $10 million, right? It's good. You guys are good at what you do. I mean, that's what you're here to do. You're not really here to help anything. But it's funny because there's been child labor with Cisco, 14-year-olds. I mean, they had to pay $3.8 million in back wages, right? But who cares? I mean, as long as they have their labor and humans rights code. Do you know when that came into place? Was it maybe after 2023 when they already had lawsuits? Who knows, right? I mean, but why would you know that? Why would you look into it, right? That's not your job. Your job's not to look into that kind of stuff. You're just supposed to pretend to brush it under the rug. It's good. It's good. It's so funny the way stuff happens. But we contract with people that are engaged in the exact things that you're saying. We're not going to do that. We're not going to have child labor. We're not going to screw with people's wages. We're just going to make them work 50 to 60 hours a week and then screw paying them overtime, right? I mean, but then they're going to have to pay it when they get into these lawsuits and whatnot. But that's okay, as long as...
Processing.
No, yeah, but whatever. But it's just sad to think that... Actually, it's good, because it's just showing everybody's true colors, and that's wonderful. And the food is shit. So it's like if you go into any of these entities and you eat, would any of you eat that food? Probably not. Oh, but that's okay. It's not going to you, it's going to the people that need it, right?
And the food doesn't have to be locally grown.
Thank you.
Just
Final call for Mark. Not seeing any movement in the chamber. We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. We'll start with our first caller.
Hi, Paula Bold. It would be nice to have the update in the agenda documents, but I think there's a reason it wasn't. There are 3 strikes I can see. First, it's a sole source contract. I've told you a million times probably that these are not good. But more important, I noted right in I think the beginning of the update that they define locally sourced as within 250 miles. That means they can tell you, oh, it came from San Luis Obispo, but it's locally sourced. And the third thing is the wage theft issue. I mean, if it's 250 miles locally sourced, if they're working within 250 miles, the wage theft occurs outside of San Diego County, where we can't enforce stuff. Do we really want to deal with that kind of company? I don't think so. So, I mean, 3 issues, 3 reasons for this contract to be regarded as a scam. And then I noticed in the background section, it said something about a contract with Cisco being reauthorized in August. Was this the 24th, the 25th, or privately? The minutes for the 24th and 25th show no renewal of a food contract. So I'm not sure what's going on, but it sounds like a big, huge scam to me.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Consuelo. Yeah, the thing is that, gosh, these are all just like really quick Google clicks of information. I mean, the things you can find out about Cisco, it makes me laugh only because it's just kind of like, it's out there. And the fact that this guy is like minimizing the complaints of its workers, first red flag. Then Tara answering her own freaking questions. For red flag numero dos. I mean, I want to better understand how this board can even begin to consider Cisco and considering their recent history of unethical behavior. It's so sick, man. But it's all a part of the agenda, right? Like, fuck it. Like, let's just, you know what? Let's go all in. Go big or go home, right? And y'all are going home. And who the hell knows where the home is? Because it's kind of like, I believe hell is happening at this moment because so many people are suffering. But you guys are just kind of like, are you soulless? Do you not get? Like, there are so many other people, small businesses, mom and pop businesses that you can be investing in. But no, let's give it to the pigs. Let's give it to the corporate pigs that are already just like taking the fuck over. It's just so sad. And then you act like you're like this freaking, the superhero, Tara. You're not. You really aren't. And I'm not trying to be mean to you, but you're just kind of like, dang, girl, you gotta, when you're out there riding the waves, surfing, doing your thing, search. Go within that soul. If you claim to care for your child, do things on behalf of her future generation and what they're going to have to endure.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Hey, Dustin here. Another manufactured problem that we went ahead and created, and this whole thing about global warming and all that stuff, have you guys been paying attention to what's happening in the Sahara? I heard it's turning green. Wow, amazing. It's not like it was a jungle before it was a desert, right? Like it could be just a cycle that's happening, and when they're a jungle, we're more of a desert. Could have been that. We could have been preparing for that, but no, we wanted to go ahead and profit off this crap. We wanted to go ahead and say, hey, look, let's go ahead and tear out all the farms that we have and put great things in there because they're water resistant. Then we're wondering, hey, look, we need to go ahead and get food from people around here within the 250 radius. Now we're going to prioritize the people that we buy from based off of not their skill level. Fuck that. Let's ignore that shit. What are you? What is your disability? If you have a great enough disability, we'll give you money to go ahead and do something you're not qualified to do because we are doing the DEI or DIE initiative. You know what I find funny is that Mike Walsh did a whole friggin' thing about this, and it's making box office records, saying basically this is a scam that you are participating in, along with other organizations participating in, just to extract money from us, from the people. It's amazing the fact that it appears to me, that, Tara, that you have no concern with your daughter's future. You're willing to throw it away for your own personal happiness right now. That is kind of fucked up. You're willing to go ahead and tear out big pieces of land. You're willing to go ahead and wipe out a species of plant in order to get your electric fucking car. And
Thank you. We'll now hear from the final caller.
Hey, it's truth, Tara. You didn't even need to talk for so long. We could have just played this clip here.
I think what I need is some more data. I need to see a table.
Oh, man. Joel loves this item, too, because it's all about junk food. Because the county's food procurement does not exclude artificial colors, preservatives, processed sugars, or genetically modified junk. Here's the question. If all county departments are eligible, then would you, supervisors, be open to switching your 1 hour, 20-minute meeting lunches to whatever the people in the sheriff's custody are subject to eating? Or does the county engage in systemic inequity? Once again, I support local food sourcing and always organic when possible, but all the other county categories are a bunch of bunk. Racist discrimination via so-called equity-informed sourcing, and along with those elevated labor standards, which just means expensive project labor agreements that only benefit the very few who belong to the big, rich corporate political unions, throw all of that into the food waste bin. And then while you're there, add the category of low carbon intensity, because it's anti-science. Basic science says lots of carbon means healthy plants, lots of food, and lots of oxygen for humans from those plants that needed that carbon to create that oxygen. Low carbon, low life, and low lives are usually those in government who promote anti-human concepts like low carbon intensity. By having so many additional regulations and restrictions on local business partnerships for food, it limits the amount of food the county can procure. That's why there's only Cisco. And the county sustainability goal number 7, to reduce pollution, waste, and consumption of resources, makes zero sense, because if people are able to eat more, then there's inevitably more pollution and consumption, not less. Here's the question. Is the county working with local farmers markets to see if there's any leftover produce that could be donated to the program? And is the county contract with big corporation Cisco Foods going to give them a financial benefit in any way? Or bragging rights where they can take credit for all the local businesses who actually did the real work and grew and donated the food? More fascist scams. Tired of it. It's old political theater. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. That concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you. Do any of my colleagues have any comments or questions? If not, I would love to entertain a motion. Thank you. I will second. Please call the roll.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors who are present voting aye.
Okay, we will now move to item number 16, Assessor, Recorder, County Clerk appointment of Jeffrey Olson to retiree rehire position. We turn to public comment on this item.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 8 requests to speak on this item, 3 in person and 5 requesting to speak by phone. Also note that we received 1 e-comment in favor. Any individuals that requested to speak on item 16 by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. All speakers are in opposition of this item. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak. I'd like to invite forward Mark, allegedly Audra, and Brian Rumbaugh. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. Please begin by stating your name for the audio record.
Your name for the audio record. Allegedly Audra. My person uses the name Audra. Whatever. Yeah, this is interesting. So on his Jeffrey Olson's LinkedIn, it says, if elected to serve as your assessor, recorder, clerk, my duty and promise to you is to provide prompt and courteous customer service, orderly recordation of public documents, and fair and equitable property tax assessments. I will fight for your rights as a taxpayer and will ensure that you are not paying $1 more in property tax than you are legally responsible for. Oh, if that was true. If that was true, right? Like, I wonder how many homes he took from people. I don't know, I'd have to really do some digging on that, but I'm sure a lot, Terry. You even raised your eyebrows on that, like, if you only knew, right? Legally responsible for. Are taxes really legal, or is it voluntary? Are taxes voluntary? You don't want people to know the truth, right? But I mean, as long as we pay property tax, we're just going to continue to pay over and over and over for property you already own. And then if you don't pay that, what happens? Then they can take your home. How cool is that? Then you guys get to get a surplus of properties. So great. Isn't the system awesome? Right? It like makes people believe that they actually have to do things that they don't. Oh, you guys are good. It's good, Jim. It's good being on that side, right? Sitting up higher, right? It is. Because you guys are up on a dais and it's like, we have all this authority. It's an illusion that people actually believe that that's true. Why did you only give me a minute? Was that a minute or 2? It was
2 minutes.
That was 2. That went.
Time is up. I'd like to invite forward Mark and Brian Rumbaugh. Not seeing any movement in the chamber. We'll hear from those that requested to speak by phone. Start with the first caller.
All aboard. Let's say the board letter title says, quote, rehire, retire, unquote. Which is it? Is it maybe a plea for a good proofreader? It sounds, however, like Jeffrey Olson himself has done a pretty good job for the county, overseeing 14 offices within the assessor's office, even running for the assessor himself in 2010. You know, with all the stuff you pull, it sounds like you guys are lucky to have his services at all. So I'd have to approve of his hiring. I mean, you know, I hope he taxes people like Cisco, who sounds like they're profiting not only off the crap they sell, the food they sell, but also all of these subcontractors, which you could be using in the county without having to take a bit of or a larger chunk of profit from them, as companies tend to do when they're faced with subcontractors. And you know, also taxing people like the fire fire protection districts, maybe tax the fire protection district instead of charging fees on all people. Anyway, I guess that's about all I have to say in 1 minute.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Hey, how you guys doing? Is this another double dipping situation? By the way, the name is Justin Castro. I see this happening all the time. People retire early, they go ahead and work for another entire year, and then you guys try to extend it. I'm glad that there is a cutoff now so that people can't just double dip for a long, long period of time. I mean, that's really what this is, right? You're congratulating them for doing a great job fucking up our everything, making it harder for individual homeowners to buy shit, doing all that stuff. So you want to go ahead and give him a bonus. That's what this is, isn't it? It's really a bonus. It's kind of messed up. It's kind of messed up that this is like a common occurrence that you guys do. You guys don't plan for retirement. You don't plan and go ahead and get someone to be put in play right away. No, you want to maximize how much you take away from the people and give people that doing terrible things to us extra friggin' money. Extra money. Why? Because they did such a horrible job at their job, we want to go ahead and congratulate them. By all means, I know you're all going to go in and say yes to it because your corporate overlords told you to. And you heard that in one of the speeches where they needed to check with corporate the county, it was the county's assigned thing, but they need to check with corporate in order to find out what the rules are. I think that's funny. It's obviously where you guys get your direction from. It's obviously not the people. It's your corporation buddies, right? We're all going corporate, and screw the younger generation. Quite fucked up that you're sacrificing your daughters for your own personal good, in my opinion, of course, Tara. I would really appreciate you fixing the election problem, but you don't want to do that because...
Thank you. Here from the next caller.
Hey, Struth, because people are now lazy and refuse to work for a living, mostly because socialists and government keep offering handouts paid for by every tax-paying resident in the county and all over the state, especially here locally, when these supervisors locked down the county in 2020 and beyond, thereby permanently demoralizing many people. Now the county is forced to bring back Jeffrey Olson as the retiree rehire position to the Taxpayer Advocate Program at the Assessor Recorder County Clerk's office. Ironic to have an office program that deals with disaster relief and navigating loss when it's actually the county government itself that caused disaster and loss. Jeff is a taxpayer-funded county employee staff who shall be publicly discussed in this public forum, all funded by every single person in this county, the majority of which know nothing of this or what happens here, or who any of you supervisors even are, no matter how much political campaigning you do during the meeting time lunch. But Jeff's been with the county since 1990, and he'll make $70.20 per hour for up to 120 workdays, or 960 hours, which equals $67,392 for only 4 months of work. Back in 2009, Jeff told East County Magazine, quote, "I will work with our state legislators to protect Proposition 13 and amend poorly written property tax laws already in place," end quote. After Jeff's finally out, I expect the new person chosen will most likely be an un-American anti-private property extremist who will reform or reimagine the county into high-tax heck. When researching Jeffrey Olson, I also found someone who in 2012, while at the Pride Festival, was charged with 13 counts of vandalism for writing a bunch of anti-Bank of America messages with children shocked in front of ATMs in North Park and Hillcrest. I had to distinguish between these two Jeffreys, the latter being a Washington senator, staffer, and a socialist, but ended up winning his case without capitulating to the city of San Diego's bargain of 32 hours of community service, paying Bank of America $6,299 in restitution, waiving all Fourth Amendment rights, and surrendering his driver's license for 3 years. This is the kind of fun that can be learned from county meeting agendas. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the final caller.
Consuelo. Yes, aren't we having fun? Just a total blast, right? Yes, and also just wanted to say, some of these people are not lazy, truth. They're just tired of being exploited for their hard work. So let's just, for the record, let me state that fact. What else? What item are we on? Because I'm busy sleeping here. But anyways, I am kind of paying attention. But yeah, it does get a little monotonous and boring, and it is a sacrifice. So I encourage all of San Diego County to start getting involved, because some of us are getting tired of the same old BS that we hear all the time, and the patterns and the manipulation and the lies and the conflicts of interest and the, what else? The, having to comply to all the BS. Oh, I moved it. But hold on. And so, yeah, that's about all I have. All right. On to the next item, if there is one, because I'm not paying attention.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson. Remember, includes public comment on this item.
Clerk, Andrew, did he submit a form?
Yes, I have a speaker slip for Bryant. I did call him twice.
Okay, you were called twice and did not come to the podium, so your time has elapsed. Apologies.
I can't just speak right now real quick?
No, because you were called twice by the clerk of the board,
right.
And you have to come when you're called. So thank you. You can certainly come next meeting. And you're obviously welcome to talk at any kind of non-agenda public comment. But we are moving on now from this item. Thank you. Any of my colleagues have a comment? Okay, we have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
Vice Chair Lawson Remer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors who are present voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We are now going to resume non-agenda public comment. So, Clerk, can you please call the remainder of the public speakers?
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson Remer. We have 12 remaining requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda, 2 in person and 10 requesting to speak by phone. For those that requested to speak by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. I'd like to invite forward Luke Slywalker and allegedly Audra. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll ask you to please begin by stating your name for the audio record.
Yeah, it's Sly Waker, actually. Luke. So I've uncovered some interesting things lately. At the airport, there's daily flights going out here from the cargo facility. I made a video about a week and a half ago that got 1.8 million views on Twitter, documenting that San Diego is shipping illegal immigrants out to other ICE facilities in Texas, Louisiana, and Arizona. There's a lot of bad people getting involved in this illegal immigrant stuff, and I'd like to play this little piece from you from a sheriff, an elected sheriff here in California. There's a bit of a problem. I think that you guys have been denying it for a very long time.
He was a hired hand by the court. We had an illegal immigrant, El Mano Negro. He was a hired hand by the cartel, where we arrested, and finally he admitted to killing and assassinating over 25 people in our county at the hands of the cartel. We just unraveled a cartel in our county, dismantling that cartel. The people in that cartel that we arrested openly admitted that within the last 3 years, it's easier now to move human beings, drugs, guns, fentanyl most specifically across the border, and that it's easier now than in the history of their cartel. I can tell you, because of the Biden and Harris administration, law enforcement resources are quickly depleted. We have victim after victim that we see, as you'll hear today. and that these stories are not unfamiliar to law enforcement up and down the state of California.
And this county restricts ICE from communicating with any sort of law enforcement agency in the county. ICE is prohibited by this county from communicating with law enforcement agencies.
Thank you. Your time is up. Next speaker, please.
My person uses the name Audra. Jim, you know that's going on. Why don't you speak up more about it? Even here, you vote things through, even though they try and strong arm you and say, well, you have to bring forward some kind of measure in order to not vote on that, like the $5 million for the legal funds. You pushed the agenda, the budget through. You know these flights are going on. You even documented them. You know children are being trafficked. How can we lose over 325,000 children that have come across the border? Yeah, Terry, you're looking, oh, you were crazy. That's happened. And I guarantee you that number is way smaller than it actually is. It's probably into the million children just disappeared. They don't disappear. It's intentional. It's a business, just like everything else. And the fact that you guys want to ignore it and sit there and maybe talk about it a little bit, this is a problem. If it was your child, Tara, I'm sure you would put up a fuss, just like Andrew. If it was your daughter, you would. But because it's not, it's like, oh, it doesn't really matter. These children can have their organs harvested. It's cool. There's whistleblowers in DHS. You even work with JJ and Ryan, Jim. Yeah. There's a documentary coming out called Invaded. It's going to be out October 24th. Right now there's a trafficked movie coming that's been out since the 13th about the children that are being trafficked by our own government. And we're paying for it. It's $1 trillion business. Children don't just disappear, and there are whistleblowers coming forward that have gone before Congress and talked about it. You need to go see what is treason trafficked, and you can use my discount code AUDRA15 if you want 50% off, but you need to go to thisistreason.com and watch it. I will send you a copy, Tara, because you should understand what's going on, because it could happen to your own fucking daughter.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. We'll start with our first caller.
Hey, it's Jim. You know, there's this analogy in sports for the coaches who lead teams, either successfully or unsuccessfully. The phrase when they are unsuccessful is they have lost the locker room. This indicates that the trust, connection, respect, and faith the players have for the coach has been diminished to nothing. For many dedicated and actively involved citizens, Reamer and the rest of the board have lost the locker room. Instead of listening intently and reflecting back to the speakers respectfully over the years, the board has done the opposite, and this has helped create the toxic environment in the chambers. No matter how hard you all attempt to practice, quote, toxic positivity, as Michael has assessed. And now Reamer, in the beginning of the meeting, brings forth more authoritarian rule and authoritarian rules. Believing this will bring more order to the proceedings, it only erodes more trust, connection, and respect, furthering the process of losing the locker room. It is not too late, though. I know the citizens will rally around a servant leadership of government, but only one that listens, values, and empowers the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Megan Stewart, and as a youth advocate and someone with experience in social work, I was very happy to hear of Governor Newsom's recent proposal for stricter regulations on hemp products. The governor's emergency regulations aim to protect all Californians, particularly our youth, from dangerous and unregulated products containing THC. The proposed rules would ban any detectable amount of THC in consumable hemp products and raise the purchasing age to 21 years old. As we know, children and adolescents are at a higher risk when exposed to intoxicating substances, especially when these products are readily available in grocery stores, gas stations, and near schools. Governor Newsom's proposed measures address this issue by ensuring that intoxicating hemp products do not slip through the cracks of regulation, as we have seen happen in other states. Currently, hemp products are subject to far less scrutiny than marijuana, despite their potential to do significant harm. By closing regulatory loopholes, these new rules can help prevent dangerous, untested hemp products from reaching not only our youth, but also adults and seniors who purchase these products, which are causing long-term cognitive and health issues. The main goal of the governor's proposal is keeping harmful, unregulated substances out of the hands of the most vulnerable. I'd like the board to consider supporting these efforts as a way to ensure that our county continues to protect the health and well-being of all its citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Barbara Gordon. Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. I work with young people, and their mental health needs to be a priority, as we have heard today. September is National Suicide Prevention Month. While suicide prevention is vital to address year-round, Suicide Prevention Awareness Month provides a dedicated time to come together with collective passion and strength to address this difficult topic. The association of alcohol and drugs with suicidal thinking can play a part in the actual suicide. Alcohol and drugs are influential in the feelings of hopelessness by their toxic effects. The commercialization of marijuana has increased this false premise that marijuana products are being natural or healthier than alcohol or tobacco, which greatly decreases the risk of harm related to this drug. The main psychoactive ingredient in marijuana, THC, causes mental and psychological health problems. A recent study published in the Journal of American Medical Association describes the direct connection between marijuana use and suicide. According to the CDC, suicide is the second leading cause of death for young people between the ages of 10 and 24. I urge this board to support those struggling with mental health issues with education regarding the harmful effects of marijuana. Policymakers like this board must stop the normalization and stop increasing the availability of marijuana products. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. My name is Becky Rapp. I'm a parent and a public health educator concerned regarding the marijuana products sold in our county that are attractive to children and young adults. We see billboards advertising colorful candy-flavored products, retail shops with the name of childhood characters, and a glut of products packaged as lookalikes to common childhood favorite candies such as Starburst, Skittles, and gummy bears. It has become evident that the marijuana industry is directing its products to young people, hoping to addict them early in life. The California Department of Cannabis Control is aware of this obnoxious marketing technique. In 2016, they enacted the Medical and Adult Use Cannabis and Regulation Safety Act. The Safety Act prohibits marijuana advertising, marketing, products, packaging, and labeling that is attractive to children. According to the DCC's description of products appealing to children, this would include a great percentage of products sold in our county today. I'd like to request that the county take action on informing industry stakeholders as well as the public of the Safety Act. Notices should be sent out to all retailers and manufacturers describing clear guidelines regarding the removal of products from shelves. The county needs to take initiative in enforcing any requirements from the DCC, and businesses should be subject to citations and fines, license suspension, license denial, and license revocation. Please consider updating San Diego County Code to align with the DCC requirements. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Hello, this is Kelly McCormick. I'm a public health educator with a focus on youth substance use prevention. There's a common misconception that vaping is safer than smoking, but another new study, this one from USC, provides yet more evidence that e-cigarettes are not safe. The study of young adults showed similar cancer-linked genetic changes in both vapers and smokers. The researchers compared 3 groups. Some were exclusive smokers, some were exclusive e-cigarette users, and some neither smoked nor vaped. They used a high-tech gene sequencing technique to look for changes in genes that are linked with disease development. Both the smokers and vapers showed changes in a key region tied to a tumor-suppressing gene. These changes have long been linked to lung cancer, suggesting the same process that happens in smokers may also be happening in young adults who vape. Local leaders must do more to educate young people and their parents about the harms of e-cigarette use. In addition, I join other prevention professionals and parents in asking you to increase enforcement of the flavored tobacco ban. Numerous tobacco retailers continue to sell flavored products illegally. Not only does this put flavored products in the hands of youth, it hurts retailers that are following the rules. In the interest of public health, upholding the law, and leveling the playing field for businesses, please enforce the flavored tobacco ban. The Tobacco Retail Licensing Program gives you the tools to do this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Kathleen Lippett, and I'm an advocate on behalf of youth and the voice of unincorporated communities that continue to struggle to retain a modicum of their former agency. This morning's meeting began with a proclamation honoring the mental health and well-being of students and families. They were inspiring words to parents and caring adults to protect the future generations of young people. We all recognize the need for healthier, stronger, and compassionate communities. Respectfully, the county policies that increase the availability of mind-altering drugs like high-THC marijuana, delaying effective primary prevention strategies, and replacing them with harm reduction are not viable alternatives to doing the work that you should do to protect and embody what those words this morning meant. Children and young adults who are targeted by the industry that you support, this industry does not share the desire for stronger, healthier, or more resilient and compassionate young people, but targets them instead for current and future profit. Simply acknowledging that unprecedented prevalence of mental health problems, depression, anxiety, self-harm, suicide, and substance abuse is not compassionate. It is your actions and the policies that you endorse that will reflect the authenticity and intention of those words. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
It's truth. The county's so-called health expert, Ankita Kadakia, could find bird flu in wastewater, but can't find toxins from sewage. Well, a woman in Imperial Beach who went to the APCD meeting and the press conference at the Tijuana River said that politician, Nora, no-showed the press conference even though they changed the schedule around just for her. But I'd be suddenly being so prioritized now during election season, but not 4 years ago when Nora and Tara first became supervisors. All political theater, and it will not work at placating Imperial Beach, especially when the sewage is now hitting the streets of Tijuana. Now let's talk about no-show Nora's campaign financing. There's $100 from ACLU's Stephanie Malin, $1,500 from UCSD's Melanie Cruz, $100 from UCSD Assistant Director Mario Sierra, $2,000 from Assemblyman Robert Rivas, $500 from San Francisco Mayor London Breed, $1,000 for Congressmember Norma Torres, $250 from Minnesota legislator Melissa Franken, $250 from Lawrence Choden, Chief of Staff for Juan Vargas, $250 from Pico Rivera Councilmember Gustavo Camacho, $250 from Santa Cruz Councilmember Zach Friend, $250 from Chula Vista goes to Councilmember Jose Prasadio. $250 from Visa's Adama Iwu. $25,500 from the San Diego County Democratic Party. $1,000 from Uber's Ramona Prieto. $250 from Max Espinosa of the Gates Foundation. $500 from Gerardo Andrade, owner of Oasis Ice Cream in IB. I don't remember them having a flavor that tastes like sewage. $500 from abortion supporters Run Women Run. $250 from Planned Parenthood's Dara Johnson. $100 from Starbucks' Mary Rosas. And Nora flew United to the DNC for $467. Her staff flew Alaska for $676. There was $500 for a refresher with the San Diego Leadership Alliance. You need that when you keep missing several meetings. And tens of thousands on campaign consulting. So I'd like to see a waiver of all candidate statements and filing fees so regular people can afford to run instead of corporate puppets. And I repeat, most people are lazy today, hence why they're not even civically engaged. Point proven. Thank you.
That's right. Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Hello, this is Peggy Walker, Youth Health Advocate. There's been much discussion today of youth mental health issues, and we know that wide availability of intoxicating drugs like marijuana contributes to this problem. Prop 64 was supposed to protect kids from marijuana, but has failed dismally. Two San Diego doctors, Dr. Natalie Laub of Rady Children's Hospital and ER and addiction Dr. Ronit Lev, brought home the truth of this failure and the powerful harm of marijuana to children at a community presentation last week. They pointed to huge increases in youth ER and hospital admissions due to cannabis use. The two doctors said that a higher concentration of THC potency is likely behind the significant ER and hospital admissions uptick for youth. The fastest growing age group using cannabis is females 11 to 13. Marijuana is the number one drug associated with suicide in those under 25, and 90% THC potency is like legalizing methamphetamine. No medical studies support this. This data should disturb everyone. As a health advocate and youth mentor, I share it to urge tighter but reasonable city controls, like plain packaging, reduced potency, warning labels, and enforcement of delivery age checks. Also, please check out the new Department of Cannabis Control guidelines regarding marijuana marketing and children. They were mentioned earlier. Because the industry marketing aimed at kids is hooking and addicting them. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. That concludes requests for non-agenda public communication this afternoon. We'll now move on to those that requested to speak on the closed session matters. Item 17 on today's agenda are closed session matters. The closed session agenda includes the following two matters: existing litigation between Yvonne Barrena and the County of San Diego, and existing litigation between Hazard Construction and the County of San Diego. Individuals that have requested to speak on closed session matters must provide comments related to these two cases. Otherwise, your comments will be considered off topic. We have one request to speak. I'd like to invite forward allegedly Audra. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board.
My person uses the name Audra, so there's termination of employment, and I don't care if you say I'm on my topic, but I don't think you guys should be doing these kinds of closed session items, especially when you don't report back to the people. You say that you're always going to go back and come back and let the people know what you're doing, but you don't. Just like the city of San Diego or anybody that engages in closed session, that should be something that is for transparency and accountability in front of the people so that they know exactly what you're engaged in. But I don't think that you guys are equipped to even be making any kind of decisions on these matters, especially when you don't want to do it in front of the people, because that shows that you don't want transparency, that you don't want the people to see what you're doing behind closed doors. Because if you had nothing to hide, you do it right out here in the open with the people, right, to be able to view it. But you don't. And then you say, well, we'll report back. And then when you say, is there anything to report back from closed session? No, nothing. We did nothing for, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours, however long it is. And that, for transparency and accountability, you should be doing it in front of the people. But it just shows the environment that you guys have created is that you want to hide stuff from the people, you want to kind of brush it under the rug, you want to act like we don't have a say in anything even though you spend our money, you do things supposedly on our behalf. But you don't, and you know it. That's why you have to go behind closed doors and do whatever business you're doing. But you aren't people that should be deciding anything like that. Just like you shouldn't even be up on that dais, but you are. And it's short-lived. And it'll be good when you guys are back with the peasants. Then you can be treated like everyone else.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. That concludes public comment on the closed session matters.
Okay, thank you. Today we have one adjournment in memory from Supervisor Monica Montgomery Stepp.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I'd like to adjourn today's meeting in memory of James Eric Herford. James Herford, affectionately known as Eric, was born on November 29, 1949 in Cleveland, Ohio. As a youth, Eric excelled academically. I'm hearing a little bit. I just want to make sure we're honoring Eric at this time, that nothing else is playing. Thank you. So I'll just start over. James Herford, affectionately known as Eric, was born on November 29, 1949 in Cleveland, Ohio. As a youth, Eric excelled academically, attending Howard University and graduating from Ohio University before serving over 4 years as a commissioned officer in the United States Coast Guard. Eric eventually laid roots in San Diego in the early 1970s and quickly became active in his community. For more than 35 years, Eric served in various positions with the San Diego County Democratic Party, including 7 years as the East Area Vice Chair and several more as the political director. Eric was an extraordinary public servant and worked for over 30 years office. He served the late Assemblyman Peter Chacon, 10 Assembly Democratic speakers, and the California Senate President Pro Tem Emeritus Tony Atkins. Eric believed a life of service and volunteerism was paramount. He tirelessly performed hundreds of hours of community service anywhere that he was needed, truly supporting his community in all things. His passion for the community was illuminated as a beacon of hope to many lives he encountered. He was known as a mentor to various organizations he volunteered with, including the Neighborhood House Association and the Black American Political Association of California. Eric is also a Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity life member brother. James Eric Herford was a man of extraordinary service whose love knew no boundaries. He was known for constantly putting others first and loving his family unconditionally. Eric leaves behind his beloved wife, Patricia, his 3 children and their spouses, his brother Michael, and a host of relatives, friends, and loved ones who cherish his memory. He will be deeply missed. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, session is adjourned. We will proceed to closed session.
The board will now recess into closed session to consider those matters listed under item 17 on today's regular agenda. If there are any reportable actions, they will be reported out during the land use session of this meeting tomorrow, Wednesday, September 25th, 2024.